Joining us now from New York City is a colleague of mine because we both work somewhat at WABC Radio, the most powerful radio station in the world right now. Rudy Giuliani is the former mayor of New York City from 1994 to 2021. All right, I got lots of questions for you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for appearing today. I know you're busy. When you were the U.S. prosecutor, the federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, before you became mayor, this case against Trump never would have happened, right?
Oh, against anyone. No, it's not a case, Bill. I mean, it's not a case in so many different ways. It's hard to describe. It's a state misdemeanor, which is barred by the statute of limitation, but for the fact that Bragg says it was done in pursuance of a more serious crime, a felony. But that's a federal felony, which he doesn't have the right to prosecute.
Right. And the Fed said, we're not going to prosecute it. We all know the basis of the case, and really nobody is disputing what you say. We all know this is being done for political reasons. But my question was more the atmosphere in the city of New York was so much different back when you were mayor. And you never would have seen anything like this. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I have a hard time believing some of these things are going on, Bill. You know, I get up in the morning and I say, is this really happening? 10, 20 years ago, I would have thought somebody told me these things were happening. There was some kind of nutty conspiracy theorist. Plus, they let the crime come back, which I honestly didn't think they could do, not just after me, but after Bloomberg.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But the key question for people who don't live in and around New York City is, what happened? What happened to make a city that was run fairly efficiently at the state and local level, the largest city in the country, to the chaos that we have now? Is it the people's fault for voting for these far left, like Alvin Bragg? Whose fault is this?
Well, ultimately, it has to be the people's fault, right? They selected de Blasio, they selected Adams, they selected the people who passed the bill in 2019 to let everybody out of jail. Since 2019, 38 cop killers have been released from jail. There are about 7,000 to 8,000 people on the street right now in New York that, if the laws I had in effect weren't changed, would be in jail. So, I mean, that's a simple explanation.
So it's the folks voting for people who are having destructive policies that are boomeranging back on the same folks and hurting everybody. Now, you could run for mayor again. I don't know whether you've ever considered that, but you could do it. So let's say you ran for mayor and you won. Could you clean this city up, or is it beyond repair?
We could clean it up. I'm not sure we could do it as quickly or as completely as before, because the permanent changes have taken place, even in the electorate. The Democrat majority in the city, although in numbers about the same, is much more radical than it was. It was much more prone to consider Republicans, to vote for Republicans. I mean, I had 70% of the Jewish vote. I don't know if a Republican could get 70% of the Jewish vote anymore. Maybe now, and maybe with the changes that I'm seeing in the Hispanic vote in particular, and maybe I'm seeing changes in the Black vote. I've got to see it first before I believe it. It would be harder to do now than it was then. But you could do it, sure.
But if you were mayor, okay, or somebody like you wins next time around, you're still going to have the no bail law. You're still going to have violent criminals, people found with guns, all right, released, hours after the police arrest them. You're still going to have low police morale because the police are disrespected by the city council. And, you're elected, but the city council is as radical a council as there is in America. They hate the cops. They don't want public order. They want what they have, which is disorder everywhere and fear. They want that. How do you beat that? How do you beat it?
changed the morale of the police pretty quickly by being on their side. I mean, the minute I became mayor last time, I told them I'm on your side. You're gonna get the benefit of the doubt. If you have to do something that's tough, do it. I'll be there with you. I demonstrated that to them 2 or 3 times, got my head kicked in politically, but gained the eternal loyalty of the police. They knew I wasn't going to let them get hung out to dry. Then there are a lot of things you can do administratively. You can emphasize smaller crimes that you know are going to net you a lot of really bad people. Like when we went and got the squeegee guys, Bratton and I, half of them were wanted for violent felonies. So if you really understand law enforcement, you know where to go to make your arrest.
That's true, but they're back out on the street in hours, and the criminals look upon the criminal justice system in New York as a joke. It's a cost of doing business.
I appointed 100 judges. It's going to take a while, but over a period of time, if you give me 4 years, I'll put 40 or 50 new judges on, and that won't be happening. Plus, the minute the judges know the mayor is going to, remember when Koch used to have those press conferences? I just copied them. When a judge did something wrong, he'd have a big press conference. He'd rip the judge apart. I used to do the same thing. I just copied Koch. It works.
Now,
it works.
You and I stood out for 3 hours at the funeral of Detective Diller 4 weeks ago on Long Island. You and I were there. Adams was there. He didn't stand out with us, but Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, did. Did you say anything to the Attorney General while you were standing there?
No, I didn't. And I know her, too. I mean, I know her for a long, long time. I didn't say anything to her because I was not sure I'm not sure how I would have handled it. I mean, I consider her kind of like beyond the pale for having run as a hitman, basically. I mean, she ran for Attorney General just to prosecute one person. He's a terrible Attorney General. He's destroying the system of justice in New York. Very, very hard for me to deal with her objectively, and I was glad we never had
and that's a good point. She acknowledged me, I acknowledged her back, but I didn't pass any words. Adams is trying to walk a tightrope between the far left and the people who want to be safe. Is he succeeding?
No, you can't do it. Right now, at least on the issues we're talking about, the economy, quality of life, and crime, you got to be single-minded, and you can't put up with all this nonsense. When I came in, Bill, I introduced workfare. I required everybody on welfare to work. At the time, I got Hillary. The New York Times said I was running a plantation because most of them were black, and I just laughed at it and said, you know, I'm going to have to go through this. Now he would change it if they did that to him. You can't. Right. You can't. That's
I don't. I mean, I want more from Mayor Adams than I'm getting. Everything is expensive these days. You know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars and consumer prices higher than ever. If the government continues its printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.